basically, salad dressings and sauces are an important part of this repertoire of recipes because this is a diet with a large amount of salad in it. This is a salad-heavy diet. You're having a salad at least once a day. And what are the keys to this nutritarian salad you're eating? What are the features of this nutritarian salad? Let's rattle them off. What's on your salad? Well, there's greens, but you're adding something cruciferous to it. Raw cruciferous like kale or red cabbage or arugula or watercress or something like that. So if they're serving watercress or serving red cabbage or bok choy shredded, put a little bit of that on top of your lettuce, right? And then we're adding, what else?
Onions.
Right, raw onion or raw scallion, right. The mushrooms, yes or no, because the mushrooms you could add to something else. You don't have to add the mushrooms to your salad. But you don't have to add the raw onion to your salad, but then you have to add the raw onion to something else you're eating that's cooked. If you're mixing the cooked and the raw, if you do it that way, but you got to put some, but usually we're putting some raw onion on the salad. You could add the bean soup. It doesn't have to be the beans in the salad, but you have to put on the raw cruciferous. You have to put on the raw onion. Those are things I want you to get that raw cruciferous into you. Because the beans you could add on something else. It doesn't have to be on your salad. Right? Yeah, you want a dressing with nuts and seeds. Because the salad with a low-fat dressing is only going to absorb 1/10 of the amount of phytochemicals. Because you need the fat for full phytochemical absorption. So we're making dressings with nuts and seeds because they have in themselves antioxidants and phytochemicals that prevent cancer. But they enhance the absorption of the anti-cancer nutrients in other foods that you eat in the same meal. Because a lot of these nutrients are fat-soluble. Like when you take your vitamin D supplement in the morning, or if you take it on an empty stomach without any fat, you're not going to absorb it well. And you could still be deficient in vitamin D, even though you're taking the vitamin D. But you took your vitamin D with the food you had your nuts and seeds with the meal that you had your salad with the nuts and seeds, then you absorb it much better. Likewise, since we want to eat nuts and seeds with the meal that we eat the most greens with, that means you don't want to add too many nuts and seeds to your oatmeal in the morning with your breakfast. You might put flax seeds or chia seeds in there, but I would probably not eat too many walnuts with that, or not eat too many other nuts, because I want to save my allotment of nuts for the day, so I have some I can use with my meals I'm eating more vegetables with, because they facilitate the anti-cancer compounds in the vegetables. If I shot my load of nuts at breakfast, I'd be eating my salad without any nuts, without any fat in it at lunch. Did you follow that? So I make some of these dressings. I pick some of this kind of a sauce or a liquid, like tomato sauce, like orange, or like carrot juice, or like vegetable broth, or whatever I want to make it, and I mix in some nuts and seeds and blend it into the blender. I like to make a fruity dressing, make a mango dressing. If I'm using mango to make the dressing, I would prick some kind of a whiter nut, a light nut, with some kind of light vinegar, like a light-colored vinegar, like a white wine vinegar, or a blood orange vinegar, or a pear vinegar. I'd make some kind of fruity vinegar in that. I wouldn't have to add any sweetener in it, but I might want to add something maybe a little sour, like just thinking of what I would add to a mango dressing. I might want to squeeze some lemon or lime in there and whip it up. Maybe a little spice in there to give it a little kick now. I'm going to add the nuts and seeds to pick with the mango. Might be good with a little walnut and hemp seeds, But else, in other words, if I'm making an orange, one of my dressings you're going to see on the next slide is an orange sesame dressing. I put cashews, and I added sesame seeds with the cashews, but then I put the blood orange vinegar and a little lemon in there. If I'm making a tomato-based dressing with a balsamic, like a Russian fig dressing or a Russian balsamic, with tomato sauce and almonds and sunflower seeds in there, then the bitterness of the balsamic vinegar, I might want to cut that with a little bit of a fig or a raisin in there. There's no fruit in there, it's just tomato sauce. And the balsamic vinegar is a more bitter vinegar, and a little bit of raisin in there will cut that and give it a nicer flavor. And then I might add, and since it's tomato-based, I can add a dark vinegar, and I may want to give it, and the tomato-based, I may want to add a little roasted garlic to that. And I can give that maybe a little pepper kick if I wanted to, or I could add a hot kick if I wanted to, but I prefer probably not. So in other words, you pick your acidity, like lemon. You pick your fat, like a walnut or seed. You pick your spices. You pick your liquid, and you use your creativity to make a dressing that you want to make, right? And you mix, and you try to use the nuts and seeds in your dressing, so you're mixing a seed maybe and a nut together, like the cashews and the sesame seeds, or I'm mixing the walnut and the cashew, or I'm mixing the almond with the sunflower seed, or mixing the almond with the hemp seed. Pick usually two, and because one of the two you want to be a seed and the other one to be a nut. Or you can use walnut instead of a seed, and you can as a source of omega-3. You want to get this right kind of balance of variety between your fat choices. You understanding this slide? So giving some samples of this slide now, as I said, the orange cashew dressing, where I use sesame seeds and a squeeze of lemon in there, right? And on the recipe I'm looking at right now that you have, it has no lemon in there, but usually I do. I'll peel 2 navel oranges. I'll put a little cashews in. I'll take the sesame seeds, the unhulled black or brown sesame seeds, and I'll toast them in a hot pan for 2 minutes. They just start to get a little tiny bit of crackle or pop in there to bring out the flavor in the sesame seeds. I'll take half the sesame seeds and put them in the blender to whip up with the cashews and the oranges and the blood orange vinegar and a squeeze of lemon or a little lemon zest. I'll take the skin of the lemon and zest it with a little scraper to scrape some of the skin off the organic lemon to give it some flavor, because the skin of the lemon or the skin of an organic orange, better yet, a mandarin quat or a kumquat dumped in there to give that, because when you eat the skin, it gives you exposure to limonene, which is a very powerful anti-cancer substance. What I'm saying right now is the most powerful anti-cancer phytochemicals are in the skin of the fruit of the vegetable, not in the center. People juice the orange and throw away the skin. They should juice the orange and throw away the juice and eat the skin. You follow me?
If it's organic.
If it's organic, of course. Because the skin has all that phytochemicals, and limonene protects your own skin against skin cancer, interestingly enough. What I do at home is I ordered this little Meiwa kumquat plant, where it's a round kumquat, not the oblong kumquat, and this round kumquat is sweet tasting. And you pop them in your mouth like candy, and they're really delicious. And you put them in your salad dressings, they're incredible. And then I saw mandarin quats in Whole Foods Market. So I took the mandarin quats, and they were really tasty and great. You ate the skins. The skin are more sweet and flavorful than the inside. And I spit out all the pits, and I saved 60 pits. And I planted them in little peat pot, in little of those peat, things, and peat pots or whatever it is. And I'm growing kumquat trees and mandarin quat trees in my greenhouse, having fun. I have like 40 of them percolating. And they make a great indoor plant. I live in New Jersey. If I can grow this, and you don't need a greenhouse, you can grow it in your living room. In the summertime, keep it outside. In the wintertime, put it in front of a window. Have a little tiny baby kumquat tree there in your house. It's fun. I have a bunch of fig trees too. I grow figs. And I have them in big pots, and they're on rollers, and I wheel them outside in the summertime, and I wheel them indoors in the winter. If you don't have a greenhouse, you can put them in your garage in the winter, or a shed for the winter, and you're in a northern climate. If you're here in California, of course, you can grow this stuff all year. This is the fruit capital of the world here, How many people live in a northern climate? Oh, about half. Yeah, about half of us. So we can still grow some of this stuff indoors. Even one little fig tree or one little kumquat tree is a benefit to this, and it's fun watching it. And something is like emotionally rewarding about eating something you grew yourself. I don't know, there's something very emotionally rewarding about that. What's that?
Planting it also getting
Yeah, and watching it grow and taking care of it. It's fun. Right, so we have these salad dressings where you add the roasted garlic, you add the nuts and seeds, you add the vinegars, and you add the interesting flavors. You could take a little leftover soup you made. It could be the sweet and sour cabbage soup. It could be the corn pea soup. It could be the anti-cancer, whatever it is. You could lay a little soup liquid. You could put some vinegar in that, nuts and seeds. You can make a dressing from that. You can make a sweet and sour dressing. You could add a prune to the dressing. A prune with vinegar is good to counter that act. Like you make the sweet and sour cabbage soup with the prune and the black vinegar in the soup to give that sweet and sour flavor to the cabbage lentils, that cabbage lentil onion soup. But here we're doing that flavor in the salad dressings. And then, because very often you want to eat like raw vegetables with a dip. Like I eat like some asparagus raw. I'll eat snow pea pods raw. And you know what I love to eat raw? I grow in the backyard peas. I don't just eat the pea pods raw and the snow peas. I eat the whole plant. I eat the pea plant raw. The pea leaves taste like peas, and they taste really good. So whatever I grow, when the peas are off the plant, I just start eating. So I'll eat some of the plants, and the plant, even when you cut the peas, it still grows back anyway. And I'll sometimes plant new pea plants, stagger it. So I'm planting peas about 4 times during the winter, so I still have new plants coming up to have young plants that I can eat in the later part of the summertime. Like I'm staggering my lettuce and my kale through the summer, planting new lettuce or kale every couple of weeks and putting new kale in, or putting new lettuce in and putting new broccoli and new peas in too, because most of the broccoli that I'm eating is not consumed from broccoli florets or broccoli or heads of broccoli. Most of the broccoli I'm eating are broccoli leaves off the plant and broccoli stems. I'm eating most of the broccoli. And I love to have huge amounts of broccoli. I have tons of broccoli planted because I'll take the broccoli leaves and I'll dehydrate them in my dehydrator and make crispy broccoli crackers that are so incredibly great. I'm mixing with that dressing, I'm teaching you today how to make that dressing from mixing the flax seeds with the cashews, with the apple cider vinegar, with the nutritional yeast, with a little soy milk. Could be a little roasted garlic, a little onion powder in there. But essentially, it's the combination between the apple cider vinegar, the nutritional yeast, and the garlic and the cashews to make a light sauce to mix with your hands, to mash it into the broccoli leaves or the kale leaves or the cabbage leaves. I did it with collards. I've done it with all kinds of greens. And then put that in the dehydrator. 120 degrees for 8 hours, and you have the most delicious crispy kale to put on top of your salad, to put on top of your soups, to put into a sandwich, for just a snack on. And if you don't have a dehydrator, I do recommend you get one, but if you don't have one, put your oven on the lowest setting possible and put it on a rack in your oven at like 150 degrees. When we're dehydrating, we're putting it at 120 degrees. But if your oven only goes down to 150 degrees, put it down as low as it goes and then do it for less hours. You're trying not to cook it, we're trying just to dehydrate it so it maintains the activity of the enzymes. So low-calorie dressings and dips. We're eating dips like broccoli and snow pea pods and asparagus and tomatoes and peppers raw, and it's nice to have a nice dip for it. And you'll want to use the dip liberally. You don't have to restrict it, so you want it to be a low-calorie dip. Salsas are low in calories. You can make a bean salsa. You could still put some nuts and seeds in there. You put a little almonds in there, a little almond butter in there if you want, but it's mostly tomatoes and onion, right? And you can put a little spice in there to give it a little bit of a flavor. This one has, I think, a little bit of balsamic vinegar in it, and I might want to put a little bit of currants in there. Besides the tomato paste and the flavorings, a little bit of currants, because currants are like baby black raisins, and they're better than raisins when you're flavoring dips and sauces, because when you put a raisin in there and you take a dip with your carrot or your celery, you might get a raisin in your mouth or you might not. With a currant, because they're much tinier, it disperses the flavor more evenly, so now when you take a slip, you always got a currant in your mouth. Did you follow that? If you're blending it, it doesn't matter, but if you're leaving it lumpy, it's better to use currants. And we buy a 5-pound bag of organic currants, to keep in the house. So we use much more currants than raisins because we're putting in anything. They're smaller and better to cook with. All right, so bean salsa is good to use as a dip. It's good to have a salsa in your house. And then a hummus. People love hummus. And the way you make the hummus lower in calories, so it's not so much nuts in it, is you make it, because nuts, it's usually chickpeas and sesame seeds, right? And there's no sesame seed oil. It's just the whole sesame seeds ground up, the unhulled sesame seeds, mixed with the chickpeas. Now you can flavor it with different flavorings. You can put horseradish in there. You can spice it up as you like, right? This one in particular uses roasted garlic. You can put one thing of raw garlic, a squeeze of lemon. But what's the unusual ingredient here is the baked eggplant mashed in, because that lowers its caloric density, but a good fresh baked eggplant makes a great flavor. Eggplant, when it's freshly picked or not old, is not bitter. It's only old eggplant that has a bitter taste. If it's bitter, it's too old. An eggplant that's good and hard, or you cook, or that isn't that old, when you roast it, actually tastes sweet and very mild tasting. It's great to mix to a dip. I even love to eat plain eggplant. It's delicious. I put it like cold eggplant on slices on top of a salad. I'll bake the eggplant in the skin till it's crinkly and soft. I'll cut it open, I'll scoop it out or slice it out. I'll sprinkle cinnamon on top and maybe some fried onion. I'll take some onion and I'll get a pan very hot, slice up my onion, dice it up small, get the pan very hot so when you throw the onion on the pan, it sizzles. So now I throw the wet onion on the dry pan so it sizzles, get so it's glistening, so it brings out the sugar, not so it's browned. And then I take that cooked onion with cinnamon on the baked eggplant, and you have that sweet flavor. The onion brings out the sweetness. The eggplant, from being cooked, has some sweetness to it. The cinnamon with the eggplant is great, and that's a nice thing to add on top of a salad or just to eat as part of your meal. And it's super low in calories. Eggplant is almost calorically free. That fills you up and is great for people who are diabetic, looking to lose weight. And cinnamon even lowers your blood sugar, by the way. So this onion, cinnamon is great. But in this case, we use the eggplant roasted as part of the hummus to lower the caloric density of the hummus so you can eat it more liberally. You understand the purpose of these recipes? And a Caesar dressing I'm bringing up as a basic recipe because it goes always as one of the top 5-star rated recipes on the website, where people use this dressing the most because they love it so much, because they like that feeling of Caesar. What gives it that Caesar flavor is probably the nutritional yeast, the raw garlic, maybe a little bit of kelp in there, because kelp gives things that seaweed type, like anchovy flavor, mixed with the nutritional yeast and the garlic, gives it that cheesiness to it. So it's nutritional yeast and kelp mixed together. You sweeten a little bit with a date, and you use some Dijon mustard and a little bit of white miso. You can buy a low-salt white miso, so you're not adding much sodium to it, but it still has a nice flavor. This combination of the firm tofu, the cashews, the garlic, you can add your hemp seeds to it if you want. It's worth putting this together on maybe Wednesday night, so you have it for Wednesday night, Thursday, and Friday nights. It's, it's a delicious dressing. It's a great dressing to be used on a piece of bread or a salad dressing, or as a sauce, or as a dip.